Hi, I'm Randy Wedick. I'm the Senior Technical Consultant at BandPro Film and Digital. I have my esteemed guest, James Neihouse, large format IMAX cinematographer extraordinaire. And the guys at Production Hub just thought they'd grab the two of us and we could have a quick conversation. So I have a bunch of questions related, kind of technical, kind of artistic questions I've been thinking of. And so you've been involved in large format cinematography for many years, right?
For many years. Actually 39 years this month was my first time on an IMAX film set. So a few years.
Now, so people always talk about like IMAX having a huge amount of resolution.
Yep.
Sure, but do you think that the physical size of the imager plays a role in the creation of like 3D space?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. The imager size, I think, definitely plays into it. Not only for the depth of the 3D space, as you mentioned, but also for the perceived resolution. You can have a small chip that's high resolution, but you're still blowing a small image up to 60 by 90 feet or 60 by 80 feet. You take a bigger image to begin with, which is what IMAX did in the first place. The 65 millimeter film, 15 perf, and blew that up. You know, all of us who made prints in our dark rooms, you know, from 35 film and then stepped up to 120 film, know how much better that quality was.
When you go to medium format or something like that, you get so much more tonal scale, but also the
quality,
relative magnification
can go up higher.
Yeah, the ratios are much smaller when you're with a large sensor.
When you look at the sensor size, and I'll compare sensor size to IMAX frame size.
Right.
A standard S35 chip, standard Super 35 chip, is about 1/10 the area of an IMAX frame. So you're blowing up 10 times basically just to get to the size of the IMAX frame to begin with. So that's another factor involved with getting something on a big screen.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think people get fixated on these numbers of like X number of K or whatever like that, but I think a lot of it has to do with the sense of like the actual physical imager size and the sense of space.
I'm glad you brought that up because that exactly, I think it's not entirely resolution, it's not entirely Ks. There's so much else that plays into it that you just can't pick a number and say this is the best.
Right.
There's so much more involved.
Have you been messing around with some pretty high-end digital technology recently, right?
I've had the opportunity to shoot with some of the new Canon products, the C300 Mark II, the new ME20F SH, the 4 million ISO camera.
What's that like?
It's a treat. I had one out in Wyoming and Montana a few weeks ago.
This is a sort of like a sensor in a box.
It's sensor in a box.
With a menu system, and then you output it to something else, but it's the most freakishly sensitive.
It's silly how sensitive it is.
You don't even need to shoot by moonlight, you can shoot by starlight.
Starlight. I've got images from starlight from that week. It's a full-size, full-frame 35 sensor, big-ass sensor, 4 million ISO, and it sees in the dark. I stuck it on a 500 mil lens and just started waving it around the night sky just to see what I could find.
You can go up to like 4 million ISO on this thing, but you're playing around shooting stars at like 200,000 or something?
Yeah, I was kind of bouncing off the noise in the camera, because anything at 4 million ISO is going to have a little bit of noise to it. So
it's really tough these days to trade off. I know.
I don't know exactly where I was. I was about halfway up the scale, but I found an airplane at altitude flying, and so I'm following it with this lens. And you can see the contrails coming off the wings. You can see the tube on the airplane. You can see the tail sticking up, the strobes going, and it's flying through a field of stars.
You've played around with that 50 to 1000 lens?
The 50, I got the 50 to 1000. That is a phenomenal piece of glass.
I mean, because it's not huge. It's not like 5 feet long.
Oh no, it's entirely manageable. And I was, it's me and my assistant just running around trying to find animals to to photograph out in Yellowstone.
Super cool.
And I was able to get a really super nice, tight close-up on this buffalo, and then pull back without shutting the camera off to the super wide shot.
Do you use a remote for that so you're not bumping against the camera?
There's a remote.
Because at 1,000 mils, like if you shift your weight next to the camera.
Well, I had it on a good heavy-duty O'Connor head and all, so it was pretty good. I was amazed at how stable it was, and we had a little bit of wind blowing, and worked out well. Is that an IMAX job you're working on or anything like that, or is it? That was while we were shooting an IMAX job. We were doing space station flyover. There's an app out there, you can find out when the space station's going to fly over. And so we had the C300 Mark II and the C500, both outputting 4K, and we're just doing wide shots of station flying over at night. And then we're going to composite with a few other elements for a shot in the film. So basically we were working for 4 minutes a night.
Yeah.
So we had all this other time out.
It's like, that other thing that you have a lot of experience with is like shooting rocket launches. It feels like I've done 2 of those through BandPro, but like it's 4 or 5 days of phone calls and then a day of travel and a day of setup, and then there's within 90 seconds
it's
subject's
over.
Completely gone, and there's nothing there anymore.
And you hope the camera ran, and it's interesting. We were fortunate with IMAX. We put cameras actually on the launch pad, up on the launch tower itself. And that takes months and months of preparation. There's one shot from the rotating service structure that I started trying to get back in 1988, and I finally got it in 2008.
What type of shot is this?
It's a fisheye shot up on the structure, and it was only probably...
Is that the gantry that's next to it?
Well, it's the gantry's here, and then the rotating surface structure goes back, and the shuttle was set here.
You want to put the camera on there
and
as
I
it
went
rotates
up
away.
here and put a fisheye on it, and it took 20 years to get that shot.
Nice.
Well, I'm patient.
It's good. I think you have to be. What do you see in the future for large format stuff or giant exhibition? Large resolution HDR, all that stuff.
I'm really excited about Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. I'm hopefully go see a screening of it this weekend. I'd like to see the big format come back, the roadshow style films. I think for people to come away from their homes, from their big screen theaters that they have in their homes already, you've got to give them something special, something more bang for their buck. And I think the large format is that.
He's got a bit of a crusade against it. He said that he's not into watching television in public.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I thought that's kind of his catchphrase there. Yeah. He's like, I want to go to the movies
and have something special, something different that you can't get at home.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really attracted me to the IMAX format early on. Is wow, this is really special.
Not television.
This is not television. This is not your grandmother's movie theater. This is something that's really, really amazing, really big. So
but before we wrap up, I wanted to talk a little bit about your upcoming projects.
Oh, the movie that's coming out.
You have a movie coming out. Yes.
The film with Disney. Yes.
Yes. The Disney film. We should probably talk about
probably
that.
Ought to talk about it.
A Beautiful Planet.
A Beautiful Planet. This is our 7th film in conjunction with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, and we've been flying cameras on the space station for a year now, over a year, Canon cameras. We've shot over 250,000 still images and several terabytes of 4K, and the film is about the planet Earth. It's a look back at the planet from the platform of space station and seeing the human footprint, how we're impacting the planet. And then we're also going to look at going from here, where do we go? Do we go to Mars? Do we go to a Cinderella planet?
What type of mixture of media are you guys using on that? Is it mostly the C500s?
It's a mixture of 1DC with some magic thrown in, I can't talk about, and C500, and some heritage footage that we have in 15 perf from our 6 other films.
Format cameras
we've
on
flown,
the ISS or built into it or anything?
We flew the 6 or 8 construction missions when it was first built, and we flew 25 shuttle missions prior to that. So we have a pretty good
some
backlog.
Story I remember you telling me there was like a built-in camera that was like a door that would unfold or something like that. Is that on the shuttle, or was that
that was a shuttle camera?
Okay.
It was in the cargo bay.
You guys would load that once per mission.
We load it one time per mission.
And how much runtime?
5,400 feet of film, a mile of film.
Which
ran
gets like
for 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Got it.
No reloads. So
it's a little bit nicer to have mags to reload. I suppose
it's not. It's great to have a half a terabyte, get 30 minutes on it.
Yeah.
It's the size of an iPhone.
Right.
And so that's good.
What do you foresee? What do you think is missing from digital that exists in large format film? Where should people, like, if they wanted to create a sensor that was that's indistinguishable from 1565 or better?
I think we talked about it earlier. I think it's sensor size.
Physical size.
The physical size and physical resolution. Because looking at 4K and you're getting a pretty good size image, but you're not stretching it up to that 4:3 aspect ratio basically that IMAX has. So you want a bigger sensor to be able to put on a screen that's 90 by 100 feet. Because that's what draws the audience into that picture. Our astronauts tell us that an IMAX film is the second best way to go to space. They say some of them say it's better than going to space because you don't have to worry about dying, but usually it's second best.
So when is this movie coming out, do you think?
The movie opens April 29th in wide release, I think, day and date, and looking forward to it. It's a Disney IMAX co-production, and should be fun.
So on the large scale, you can check out James's film, A Beautiful Planet, coming out in April. On the sort of day-to-day, they can follow you around on your Instagram. Which is 70 millimeter DP, 70
millimeter DP, 7 mm DP. Same as for my Twitter.
Yeah.
Same millimeter DP.
Thanks for coming by.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Good talking to you.